you for an opportunity to speak to you today. Today I have two scenarios that I want to talk to you about concerning the club. One is a scenario under which we have a quick and great recovery on the economy. We're rocking and rolling and everything's doing very well. The other scenario is where we have a continued situation where we have an uncertain economy and we're not sure what's going to happen next. So first, I want to consider the quick and complete recovery. We have a great club. We have a beautiful golf course that is well maintained. We have a beautiful pool complex that is second to none in the valley, or so I'm told, until you get to the big hotels. And we have a dining room that has a view to die for. So why am I running? Well, I was approached. And when I was approached, I was also gifted with 15 years of newsletters. And I read those newsletters, and I have seen in those newsletters all of the names that are before you today. They have served you well for many, many years. And so why me? Well, again, I was approached. I was approached for two reasons. One is that I just came here from Chicago, where we had a major remodel. So that is fresh in my memory from our HOA there. And the other is my past experience. As a high-tech person, I was required to write requests for proposal for the government and shepherd contracts through that complicated procurement process. So what I did was I wrote all of the requests for proposal, I wrote all of the statements of work, I wrote all of the memoranda of understanding, I held the contractor visits and put out the changes that were necessary based on their concerns. And then I shepherded those contracts through the procurement process for the Department of the Army and oversaw what went on to complete those contracts. So those skills may be useful to the board at this time. We have a great club, but we have room for improvement. And marketing perception is everything. I believe MLCC needs to be rebranded. I know that you visited a zip code and name change in the past. I've read some history where the government has come up against the USPS to be more conciliatory toward the notion, and I think that we should pursue this again and distance ourselves from Desert Hot Springs, be called Mission Lakes. And I'm happy to do that kind of thing. I think it's fun. There's something decidedly wrong with me. This is why I'm still trying to break 180. You don't want to play golf with me, but I don't mind visiting permit departments, which I also did with our plans, because what we went through in Chicago was we started out at 2.8 million, ended up at 4.5 million because of structural problems and requirements for retrofit. So I went down to the permit department down here in Palm Desert and talked with them at length about what our plans are about pushing out outside walls. I retrieved 8 points that we should be considering if we consider to do that. And before we do that, in my mind, we need to have a solid idea of return on investment. To that end, I have never heard anybody in the 2 years that I've been here tell me that they did not want to come to the club because the club wasn't pretty. I have heard repeatedly that the club food is inconsistent and expensive. And to that end, before we closed, I came up here, I had a wonderful scampi. My guests had great cordon bleu, but 2 days ago I had the worst bolognese I've ever had. We need to fix this, and I believe that we can. We have a $15 hamburger. It needs to come out seared, cooked to order, juicy. It needs to be the best burger in the valley at that price, and it's not. But these are things I believe we can get to. And if we get to those things and we get people coming up here for a good steak and a good burger and good shrimp and a great scampi, the scampi's great, then we can start to make some money, and then we can start talking about spending money. Also, I believe that in order to get greater participation in this club, which we need badly, we need to be welcoming. We need to be a club that is welcoming to people who are just new here, to people who haven't come up here. It can be an intimidating environment. If I had not been invited by my good neighbor Carol Pidiak, I never would have had the courage to just come up here on a Friday night. We need to be those people. I think we should hold parties 7, 8, and 9, we should have a party night. 7, 8, and 9 for new people. The board needs to be out there. The pros need to be out there. The beverage cart needs to be out there. The grill needs to be out there. 7, 8, and 9, get the kids out there with some clubs, get them introduced to it. We need to do the same thing for the pool complex and the same thing for the tennis courts. We need to run clinics at cost and get these kids involved. They will go to the Sand Wedge. They will order up chicken fries. So we need to do all of that before we start spending money. And again, we need to know what our return on investment is going to be. I believe my motto is, in God we trust, all others provide supporting documentation. If, on the other hand, we have an economy that is in question, we need to put the brakes hard down on it, not spend anything, have money in the reserves in case of default on HOA, and we need to look at security. I want to close off some ingress and egress. I know people have tried to do it before. I don't believe in can't. Everybody else around here is gated. It is too easy to get in and out of these neighborhoods. We need security cameras. We need to look at security patrols. If that needs to happen due to our economy and worsening conditions. And with that, I thank you for your afternoon time, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
Your first question, please describe your understanding of the difference between the service of your constituency and any personal agenda. I'll repeat the question. Please describe your understanding of the difference between the service of your constituency and any personal agenda.
A service of constituency is tough to say here, because the people that ask me to run want very much for us to be very fiscally conservative. That happens to run with my personal feeling as well. So I don't have that problem. The problem is I also serve a constituency. I was speaking to the King family the other day. They, for instance, are very interested in expanding the footprint of the club and bringing in events. So if we can find that we can get a return on investment on doing that sort of thing, and we have a good understanding that there are people that have those requirements or have that desire to be up here to run big events, weddings and all that, then that's fine. But we're putting the cart before the horse, I feel, and I think others do as well. The people that approached me certainly feel this way. We put the cart before the horse if we're betting on the come and spending that much money. So what's the difference? For me at the moment, there's not a lot, but I am sympathetic to people who want to see things updated, and I am sympathetic to people who want to try to do that, but we have got to get the appropriate documentation to support such a notion. Did that answer your question? Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 2, what is your most comfortable avenue of communication to make yourself available to understand the needs of members? What is your most comfortable avenue of communication to make yourself available to understand the needs of the members?
Okay. My thumbs are decidedly untalented. I prefer email in that environment. Also, one of the things I wrote when I first applied, on my application somewhere it says that I'm willing to make myself available for a period of time, for instance Saturday mornings 9:30 to 12, to answer questions, because we do have a big problem with the rumor mill. It is very destructive. We're a small community, we're a close-knit community, we need to stay that way. I was discussing this with a board member, a current board member, and I said the only problem I see with me doing that is that I have to have somebody with me doing that who doesn't necessarily share my viewpoint. Otherwise, I think we could probably videotape if somebody came and wanted to sit down and say, hey, I heard this, is it true? Or what are your plans? Or whatever can be disclosed, of course nothing personal for any of the members, and then get back to the rest of the board and let them comment as well. Or the other thing I can do is take questions in person and write them down and say, we will get back to you as a board officially.
Thank you very much, Wendy.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Okay.